Of the Division 2 season in the RSF1 Season 4. I'm Primus Gaming, and joined with me today is someone different who's making his comms debut. It is your boy Prowl. We're just going to call him your boy because it's easy, because I learn a lot of people struggle to pronounce his name, but how you doing?
Not too bad, thanks Primus. Happy to tip in and get my debut out of the way. Been looking forward to it for the day, and what better race could I do it at than the Monaco Grand Prix?
The Azure circuit, one of the most difficult circuits of the F1 calendar. Also, it's the circuit with one of the slowest corners of the lowest hairpin. That is just near Mirabeau. That is the lowest speed. I think it was of 30 miles per hour, maybe just a bit under going around that. But yeah, it's going to be a heck of a race. But unfortunately today, today's a bit of a sad stream. Not our usual way to start off, but recently the news came of Formula 1 legend, the legend of commentating and the voice of Formula 1, Murray Walker, who passed away a couple of days ago at the age of 97. And it was a massive shock to learn of the news of Murray's passing. For me personally, I thought he, not just in Formula 1, I think of all time, he was the king of commentating. He was brilliant at anything he did, and his work was nothing but awe-inspiring. He's tremendous, and everyone on the grid loved him, his fan base. He was just a brilliant person. I listened to the podcast and other stuff with Murray, and he was a complete character. And everyone from RSF1 sends their deepest condolences to Murray Walker's family, and our deepest sympathies. We've truly lost the legend. I think the best thing to do when you've lost, especially in motorsport, when you've lost someone, is remembering their best moments. Do you have any particular favourite moment of Murray Walker, your boy?
Personally,
his commentating.
I didn't start watching Formula 1 till the late thousands and early tens, so I didn't ever get to watch a race with Murray commentating. But the fact that I still know his name shows how much of an impact he had in the sport. That I was the year he stopped commentating professionally or full time, I was born, and the fact that he's still such a recognizable name to me just shows the impact of his sport. Like, he's up there with Schumacher, Senna, Prost, a name that you're going to recognize instantly. And obviously I've seen some clips these last few days about some of his key, or not key, but biggest and most memorable moments. And I have to say, the 1996 Japanese Grand Prix, where Damon Hill won his championship, his not his surprise, but his attitude and his saying that he's got to stop because he's got a lump in his throat. It's a saying that everyone, or a line that everyone remembers, and it sticks with me because it's such a unique piece of commentary, and that's what he's remembered for, is his passion while commentating and just being so unique in what he says. And that's kind of that you don't see so much these days with commentators. They're all kind of similar. Sometimes they don't have the same passion as Murray did back then. But obviously it's very sad that he's passed away, and I'm unfortunate enough to have never watched him during his prime.
He was a very passionate commentator. There'll be times where I remember it was the 1990 San Marino Grand Prix of when a car lost control. I think it might have been Mansell, and you had James Hunt commentating on it. And at the time, because James Hunt and Murray Walker were an amazing comms duo, that they actually couldn't get two pieces, two microphones, because they were worried that James and Murray would clash, over talking each other. So they actually had only one microphone to share, and I think James Hunt was doing a commentary on what happened. A Ferrari lost control. All you can hear in the background is Murray going, "Ah!" because Ferrari lost it, and it's a very dangerous time back in the day for Formula 1, especially with the events that we had witnessed back in 1994, when we had unfortunately lost Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, which Murray Walker himself had labelled the darkest day of, the darkest weekend of Formula 1. But yeah, Murray will be remembered as not just a legendary commentator, but a huge icon for all. A lovely man, friends of so many. He was very one. He was not just trying to not be biased, but he liked the British drivers like Mansell, and as you said, your boy, when Damon Hill won his championship in 1996, he was just very choked up by it in a very good way, and yeah, it's a very sad day, and loads of drivers are showing their support to Murray Walker. Myself, I'm going to be rocking the gold helmet and the number 97 for the F4 division when we take our turn around the Monaco circuit. But yeah, so very sad about Murray, and this race is for him. So let's get into the qualifying, and the first car to actually do a flying lap is Malibu, the woman of 1,000 names, because when she has one gamer tag, she then changes it, and yeah, better get used to it. Right, round the final corner goes Malibu as she now gets into the DRS zone and crosses the line. Now she's going up to Saint-Devot. This is a very difficult corner because if you cut too much of that curb, you will invalidate. She's got Steffi Buffy Gamer right in front of her as she's going up Beau Rivage into the Massenet. Hopefully she's not ruining her lap as she's going through Casino. Yeah, I think that Red Bull just put her off.
Yeah, going into the left-hander there at the top of the hill, the Red Bull was on the racing line, and I think that definitely would have caused Malibu to lose focus on the corner and possibly try to gain a bit more on the exit, having lost it into the corner, and obviously loss of traction on the rear, and she spun into the wall. But have to return to the pits, and that's a set of tyres that, even though the tyre wear around here is lighter than usual, the wheel spin and the extra spin on that might have caused that set of tyres to go to the wayside, so that could be an issue later on in the session and in the qualifying. But I think the Red Bull as well, on the minimap, just went off at the went straight on at that point. I'm not sure if there's damage on it or not, but he or she was sat there for quite a while. I think there might be end plate damage to the left front, so the Red Bull of Steffi, my wife Gamer, might need to come back into the pits.
On board with RS Josh as he's gone through into the final corner after Raskas crosses the line. The first car to set a lap in qualifying is a 1 minute 10.3. I'm hoping we can get a full lap. It looks like Malibu has crashed after the I think she crashed after to back, which is very unfortunate. We'll go on board now with FFR Milan, who I think is the car to start a flying lap, so we'll get a full one in and hopefully not a crash, because I was really looking forward to doing that. In Saint-Devot goes FFR Milan. He avoids the McLaren on the inside there, moving up Beau Rivage into the Massenet. He's got Little Sparks in front of him. Hopefully Little Sparks moves out the way, because this is where Malibu had her original incident. Into Casino Square. Come on, I want to finish and on board, for God's sake. He's still going into Mirabeau Hotel, into the lowest hairpin, the slowest corner of the F1 circuit. 21 miles per hour we clocked there as he went through there. Now down to Portier. And now into the infamous tunnel section where Michael Schumacher had a crash during a safety car period. And now down into the Novell chicane. Very careful here. You've got to make sure you don't clip that wall and don't cut too much of the chicane, otherwise you will invalidate. Now moving into turn 12 to back. Pushing forward into Louis Chiron. And then into Pincenez. Now through to Raskas. Keeping it nice and tidy. And Anthony Noggs. And onto the DRS. Pushes down the start-finish straight. And FFR Milan do better than Josh. 1 minute 12.4. That incident he had at Casino did cost him hugely.
Yes, and just one thing I noticed there on coming out of the final corner, his ERS deployment had actually hit 0. So he had no deployment on that whole pit straight, which is where you'd really want it, is that pit straight just to get yourself started for the next lap, and also the boost out of the final corner. So that might be something that drivers need to take notice of, or might already know from their practice. But yeah, no deployment there for the final 200-300 meters of the lap for FFR Milan.
I'd like to take this quick moment, by the way. If anyone is watching in the chat, please take note of the Nightbot. There is a a driver missing. It's Shrimper. He's not feeling very well. So if anyone can pay their attention to the chat, to the Nightbot where it says it has a GoFundMe link, please, if you can, every little helps with Shrimper as he's currently battling cancer at the moment, and we wish him all the best for his battle with it. And if you want to show your support, please check out that link, make a donation if you can. It would massively help him, because as we know, cancer is not an easy thing to get through, and he is going to give it his all, but due to the treatment he's currently not feeling too great at the moment. So wishing you a nice and speedy recovery, Shrimper. In the meantime, kick back, enjoy this Grand Prix, knowing that you ain't doing it, because probably I don't think many people want to do this one. So yeah, please give Shrimper all the love and support he deserves, especially for trying to tank through it and do a racing season.
What I've noticed is quite a few drivers around here, just Breezy there had an incident into the swimming pool session. A lot of the drivers are getting in contact with the wall, whether it be on a flying lap or an in lap. So if you can manage to hook up a clean lap without damaging your vehicle, then you could be on to definitely get into the qualifying too, because what I've noticed is on quite a few of the flying laps is that the drivers are making contact with the wall, and obviously that is going to cost you time at the moment of the contact and then for the rest of the lap as well, because the worst thing you can have around here is understeer or oversteer due to wing damage.
Also, I noticed Muddy Biscuit, he normally is very consistent in qualifying. You know, he gets a decently high position and then, you know, penalty free in his races. If you've watched some of the Division 2 battles, he's put himself on top, and we've got a couple of new drivers in. So you've got Mega Centurion in the Alfa Romeo. He's currently in P19, who's yet to set a lap. And we've got Caesar 2 Wizard, a former Division 4 driver who's making his debut in the Monte Carlo circuit. On board of Muddy Biscuit, though, as he's currently on a quick lap, and for a majority of it, he didn't have his ERS deployment on, and improves to a 109.3.
That's an incredible lap, and you saw there he must have turned his ERS down to 0 deployment somewhere throughout that lap, because obviously he still had deployment there for the final straight of the lap, and obviously on equal cars, all the cars have the same deployment tactics.
Sorry to cut in. Magic Marks, the Season 1 Division 2 champion, puts himself up into P2. What a lap!
I'm very surprised that we're hitting the sub 110s straight into Q1, but there's no messing around, and these drivers are obviously getting themselves clued in and aiming for the quick low lap time straight away, because there's a massive spread between the field. You can see pole position, or P1 currently has a 109.3, and all the way back to one shot in P11's at 11.3, so there's a 2-second spread in the field. So obviously some drivers taking their time getting used to the track, and others going straight forward with obviously quite high confidence, as Stin comes in with another 109.9.
Only half a tenth of a second faster than Magic Marks, on board of Lukey, the runner-up currently in the championship, the Drivers' Championship standings, and he is on a flying lap. Actually, your boy, we could take this moment, because I know Muddy Biscuit and Lukey are battling for the top positions. What's the top 10 looking like in terms of the drivers' standings?
Well, at the moment it's quite a compact field once you get behind Muddy Biscuit, who has, it must be said, quite a large gap at the front, and no matter what happens here at Monaco, he is going to head into the next round in Azerbaijan as the championship leader. And then you have Lukey and Milan, Dangerous Dan, all kind of close together, and then there's about a 10-15 point gap covering the rest of the top 10. Breeze on 47, back to Malibu on 16, so there's a 30 point gap covering P4, P5 back to the end of P10, and we still have 3 drivers yet to get off the mark, and Sync Dan, DRT Evo, and One Shot. So they'll be hoping that if they can keep it clean around here, this could be the race where they get some points on the board. But the top 10 is looking very compact, and it's too early to tell in the season really where you belong, because it's been quite a up and down season for some drivers. But hopefully everyone can have a good consistent race, and those 3 drivers that will be hoping that they can get some points off the board.
And on board with Lil Sparks, as he is making his way through Mirabeau Hotel into the lowest hairpin. He looks like he had a little bit of a lock-up there, coming out of the bottom section of Mirabeau into Portier. He's still hanging on, doing a decent lap. Now at the end of the tunnel into the Nouvelle chicane. Oh, he's keeping it nice and close though in terms of the limits there on the chicane itself. Into the back, through the swimming pool section, and now through into Pincenez. Keeping it very nice and close into Rascasse. Locks up there on the right, lost a little bit of time. Now into Anthony Noggs as he goes through the last corner. DRS now active, good quick reaction time on getting the DRS active. Lil Sparks only improves up to P10. It looks like those lockups really did cost him really, really big time. But he's still got 6 minutes to get back around, slap on another set of tyres and try again.
And just while you were commenting on Little Sparks lap, Steve retired while in the pit lane on a 109.9, so he obviously thinks that he's safe enough in getting through to the Q2, because if there's anywhere that you don't want to be taking risks, it's Monaco in qualifying. So he definitely thinks that he's through on a 109.9. But with the field so closely compact, it's hard to tell what the cutoff time would be, but there's quite a few drivers there on a low 110, and then there's drivers that are further back to a 10 or a low 111. There's a second covering P9 to P15. So if you can aim for a mid to low 10, maybe a 10.3, 10.4, you could be safe enough to get into qualifying 2. But there's still 3 drivers to get on the time machines, but obviously Malibu won't be setting a time. So Steffi Weffy Gamer and DRT Evo, we're hoping they can get a time on the board before the end of the session.
I'm loving the tribute helmet and numbers being rocked by St. Dan, especially for what happened with Murray Walker, so loving that. Also, for the start of the Grand Prix, when we do lights out, I will be giving it the old Murray Walker go, 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 because it's what he normally did, and that's how we're honouring him as well as this race. Meanwhile, Gruntastrophe, or Grunty36, going through the lower section of Mirabeau, cuts the curb too much and invalidates. I have a question for you, your boy. Right now, it's hard to say who's getting where, because look at the top 3. It keeps changing, because originally Stidgen used to be 3rd, Lukey was 4th. It keeps switching, because now Magic Marks has improved. Lukey's now up to 2nd, so the championship rivals, P1 and 2, are already nipping at each other's heels. Do you feel it's easy to call this Grand Prix in terms of the top 3, or do you reckon, because it's Monaco, it's got everything to play for?
Usually, if in a let's say a normal setting, if you saw the top 2 have a 4/10 buffer to the guys behind, you'd instantly say that they're contending for the win. But in Monaco, it's such a race of attrition that they could be the 2 fastest drivers around the track. But if they have a single incident or a single clip with the wall, that means they have to make an extra pit stop, it could instantly take them out of contention for the win. So around Monaco, it's the approach that whoever keeps the cleanest and whoever can avoid having to make extra pit stops or losing time to damage, I think they have the best chance of high finish. But I'm intrigued to see this pole position battle, because Muddy Biscuits went out straight away, instantly set a 109.3 and a very quick lap. And I think that kind of forced Lukey's hand. He needed to show that he needed to respond and show that he can compete with that time. I think that's why we're seeing a little bit quicker times here in Q1 than I personally expected, because Muddy Biscuit went out straight away and set that time on the board, so it's forced everyone else to up their pace a little bit in this Q1 session.
And ran Anthony Noggs going Grunty, who's at the fastest second sector. I'm pretty sure did the good first sector. Gruntastrophe puts himself in P13, so he lost some time somewhere. Currently ran out the drivers in the danger zone of being knocked out is Mega Centurion, Ripley Monshot and Steffi Weffy Gamer. Malibu is already out due to DNFing after Tabac, so she will not be starting, she will not be doing Q2. I think Caesar Wizard is finishing a lap. We'll try and see about getting you on board, your boy. Would you like to do an onboard before the end of Q1?
I'm just personally at the moment trying to get Malibu back into the session, because I realised she lagged out, so I'm just trying to get her back in.
No
at
worries.
the moment.
I'm loving the support that's being shown to Shrimper with his battle with cancer. As I said earlier, please, even a small donation could mean the world to helping Shrimper get through it, because we know treatment for cancer, like chemotherapy, or any other, like I think radiotherapy, can be quite expensive. So any little helps to supporting Shrimper will be hugely appreciated. And meanwhile, while we was having a little look at Shrimper's GoFundMe sort of
Section.
well, section. Steffi Weffy Gamer went from last on the grid to P3, splitting Lukey and Magic Marks.
I think she'll be safe with that lap, but I'm currently looking at Grunty because he wasn't safe. He isn't safe at the moment, and he just done a recharge lap with 0 ERS, and he's currently out there on a flying lap right now. He's just about to head into the tunnel. I didn't quite catch his first sector time, so I don't know is he up or down, but we'll see as he comes into the second sector. There's a Red Bull in front of him, but I don't think it should get in the way. He's going into the chicane, and he made a slight mistake there. Going into Chibak now on the left-hander, we'll see is he up or down. He needs to be up here because he needs to get further up the grid to secure himself, and he's actually down by a second. So he's just flicked down into 0 ERS. He's going to recharge, and he will have time to go again on one more flying lap if he has the fuel to do so. But that'll be his fourth flying lap, and he's coming to the pits.
No,
so
he's going in.
Is thinking he's safe. Depends who's out behind him. He's retired from the session. There's currently 4 drivers behind him out there on the track, and Evo is coming around the final corner now. We'll see can he improve and knock Grunty into the danger zone.
Oh, it lost the back end of the car there. That's it. Evo can't get better than P15. Now we have to keep a look at the back. Red Bull one shot goes 16th fastest. He won't improve anymore. He is out of Q1. Meanwhile, Mega Centurion and Sturridge are the last 2 drivers available. Sturridge is pushing the car like hell as he's going into Raskas. He's held the line quite tightly, but I guess a bit of a wide exit there. Going into Anthony Noggs. Goes Sturridge. DRS now active. Can he get himself into Q2? Yes, he can. It knocks out Evo, and now it's up to Centurion. Is Grunty going to get into Q2? No, he won't. Centurion just pips P15.
But I noticed there again with Centurion, he just lost ERS deployment coming out of that final corner. So he would have seen that time that Grunty had done. He would have got very nervous because he beats him by 0.02 of a second just to get into Q2. That's a massive relief for Mega Centurion getting through there, and especially with no deployment on that final straight, he would have been very nervous and the palms would have been sweating as he came out of that final corner.
And that is it for Q1. The drivers eliminated from the first qualifying session of the day. Malibu in P19 at the back of the grid. She has quite a bit of work to do today, but I imagine she'll put down some pace. But we all know Monaco is definitely a very difficult circuit. It is a battle of attrition as well as for the lead. Ripley Monshot in 18th place. DRT Evo in 17th, and Grunty 36, who just misses out on getting into Q2 after Mega Centurion improved and pipped the final position to get him into Q2. So that has been a very interesting qualifying session indeed. And now we go over the top 3. We've got Muddy Biscuit on pole with a 109.3 in Q1. Lukey in second with a 109.4. And Steffi Weffy Gamer, who did a really, really good lap of a 109.6. I like that we're hitting into the 109 straight away, and Muddy Biscuit on a 109.3 in Q1, possibly running a bit more fuel and possibly not driving the car to the edge as you would in Q3. I wouldn't be surprised if pole position here was a sub 109. Maybe even to the 8s. As you said, everyone knows Q3, the track is going to be a lot more
rubbered in,
more worn in. There'll be more grip compared to Q1.
I feel bad though for Malibu here, sitting at the back of the grid in Monaco. It's really not where you want to be. She'll have to keep it clean, keep it tidy at the early parts of the race. Try take.
Right. Can you invite me back? Sorry about it, everyone, but just as we was going into Q2, the game then just removed me.
Try to get you back in as quick as possible.
Thank you.
And once you get back in, if you have Grunty, if you could invite him, because I don't actually have his gamer tag on my friend list, I won't be able to.
He'll be in your recently met.
Okay, will do.
Game strikes again. Series X, though, doing its job. It loads in nice and quickly. Right, there we go. Back into Q2. And by the looks of it, no one's going out. Lukey's still playing the old, I'm gonna throw them off with putting on wet tyres when it's probably not going to be a wet Grand Prix because people are putting on medium tyres. So, yeah, I can see Lukey's trying to throw out a curveball, but we're not buying it.
Primus, do you think there's any benefit if you see there's a few drivers who have selected the medium tyre? Do you think there's any benefit in actually setting a lap and trying to get through on that tyre if you can?
Yes, because I mean the degradation around Monaco isn't as high as other circuits, so the tyres do kind of last a little bit. However, I guess the longer you can stay out, the better, because a lot of time can be lost in the pits, especially with Monaco of all things, because if you muck up the entry, you could bump into the wall, and it's a very tight entrance. Yeah, I reckon going for the harder tyre is definitely the strategy to go for. If you're outside the top 10, I'd say best call to make is going on hards, because at least then that would be, you know, at least then on hards you got a nice long time out. You just got to make sure you maintain pace and not lose out too much to the guys in front on those softs.
And I suppose on the harder side of compound as well, if you go deeper into the race and you can kind of wait and see if there's a VSC or a safety car that you can take advantage of later into the Grand Prix. So I suppose there is quite a few benefits of getting through on the medium tyre if you can. But based on Q2 based on Q1 and how close the field was, I'd be surprised if many people can make it through on the medium tyre as Caesar Wizard starts his lap.
Would you like the honours?
Oh, fire away, my friend.
Rightio. Well, moving up into Casino now. Oh, he's had to back off a little bit there. Going into Mirabeau, fastest first sector. Of course, he will be doing the fastest first sector because he's currently the only car to have done a lap time, well, a sector time. Oh, he went into neutral there, going into the lowest hairpin. Now into Portier, through to the tunnel section. Keeping it nice and tight on the inside. Now to the Novell chicane. Very tricky bit here. Keep nice and close to the walls, but don't hit it. Otherwise, obviously, you're out. To back. Hugging it nice and close. Into the swimming pool section. Nice cut on those curves there. Through Pincinay. Still very good. A little bit of the backhand kicking out as he goes into Raskas. Lock up on the right tyre there. And he's pushing through to Anthony Noggs. Last corner. Oh, a little bit tight there for him. He manages to get through on the power. DRS assistance. And whoa, there was an AlphaTauri. That's a 1:10.4.
Yeah, good lap. But as we've seen, the cutoff there in P10 in the last session was a lower 110. So he will need to find some time if he is to go through. I don't think we mentioned, obviously it's quite obvious to people that watching that it is obviously Monaco at night. But that does add quite a big extra challenge to the drivers because it's not the regular thing to do. It's not what they've been used to. They've only had to practice it recently, so it's quite a big challenge. And obviously, it adds a different aspect to the Grand Prix because tires will be cooler, and it adds possibly different strategies and different setups in the cooler conditions at nighttime.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is. In most racing games, especially with simulation damage, surface temperatures really will play heavily. And as you just said there, you boy, obviously night, the temperature will be much colder because there's no heat from the sun radiating onto the track surface. So it's going to be difficult for the drivers, especially when coming out on brand new tyres, to apply some heat. Because cold tyres on a track like here, one wrong move and you're in the wall.
Yeah, and I just got a glimpse of Caesar's wheel there. Yeah, obviously on certain steering wheels you can see tire temperatures, and his tire temperatures at the rear were actually above 100 degrees, which is obviously not what you want to have. If you keep your tire pressures consistently above 100 degrees, they will eventually wear out and you'll lose grip. So I'm surprised to see that at this obviously a night race, but to have his tires at 100 degrees, if it's like that in the race, it could definitely be something to watch out for drivers, because the soft tire may not last as long as we expect if those tire temperatures are that high. And just looking at Mega Centurion here, I get a glimpse of his rear tires as well, and they're both above 100. So whether it's just an issue for the Alphas, I'm not sure.
Muddy Biscuit, championship leader who took pole in Q1, just jumped into pole with a 1:10.1 on the medium tyres.
That's a great lap again from him.
A truly great lap on the mediums, and as Murray Walker would say, a superlative driver.
And he's actually up again in the first sector by 0.07 of a second, so he's going for it again. Even though his ERS is on 0 deployment, he is pushing here. He is purple again in the first sector, so he could be hoping to get into a sub 110 and secure his spot in Q3 on the medium tyre, which would obviously benefit him massively for the Grand Prix. I'm going to stay on board with that. He has actually reignited his hot lap ERS as he comes into the back, and he's made a mistake on the chicane. He's clipped the wall and he's gone round.
That's very rare for Muddy Biscuit to get caught in an issue like that.
And he has to be careful.
Oh, don't crash out, Muddy! Oh, luckily ghosting is on, because if ghosting wasn't on, Muddy would have taken out that Red Bull.
Be careful for Williams. Oh, and there's contact with the Williams behind. There's. And actually, Magic Mark has got a 5 second or a 5 place grid penalty for the incident. It would have been hard for him to know if Muddy Biscuit was there, because in this he's using his minimap, he wouldn't know. But to me, it just looked like Muddy Biscuit and Magic were obviously, they weren't expecting each other to be there, and Magic has clipped into the back of Muddy Biscuit and got a 5 place grid penalty, which is the last thing you want around Monaco, because you want to be as high up the grid as you can be.
Yeah, and unfortunately in that regard, because Magic Marks was hoping that Muddy was still going slow enough to encourage Ghost Mode to still be on, so he could just go straight through him. But sadly, when Muddy managed to recorrect himself and get going, even at low speed, the game then made him a solid figure again. So obviously that's when collisions will be on and he could hit each other. And sadly, contact was made, and Magic Marks has paid the price for that. So he's going to have to minimalise. He's going to have to do everything he can to minimalise his loss going into the beginning of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we've got the Mercedes of Dangerous Dan. He's had really good pace for the beginning part of the season. But the thing is it looks like he's not having a good day today in Monaco. He's normally in the top 5 or the top 3 quite easily. But we'll monitor him for the moment as he's going through the swimming pool section, keeping it nice and tidy through into Pincenez.
He got very tight to the wall. Yeah, very, very tight to the wall. I'm not sure, did he make contact or did he just scrape it, but it was very, very tight to the wall. Definitely tighter than I want to go towards it. And he's
going across the line. Oh, no, I said it. He did a 1:10.3. That's actually a really respectable lap.
Very good lap on the medium tyre, but what I noticed again is another driver who had no deployment going across the finish line. He had used all his deployment before he got out of the straight, and the only driver I've seen actually save deployment, and he saves it in the first sector. He doesn't deploy any ERS in sector 1 is Muddy Biscuit, and he uses that deployment. He puts it on as he enters into the tunnel, and he uses all his deployment in the second third of the lap. So it could be something for drivers to pick up on if they don't recognise this, but as I've seen, Lukey just did a 1.96 on the medium tyre, and I think that's definitely going to be good enough for him to get through to Q3 on that medium compound. That is a brilliant lap from Lukey.
For sure. And Muddy Biscuit, with that collision with Magic Marks, he's feeling now it's time to play for safety. He wants to stay ahead of Lukey, so Muddy Biscuit is slapping on a set of soft compound tyres. Meanwhile, on board of RS Josh, S04, or Josh Season 4, as nicknamed by Bodder, a former commentator in RSF1. Josh, moving round the last corner through Anthony Noggs, clips the wall there on the inside, but manages to keep stable with the car, holding it, and crosses the line. P2 with a 1:10 dead on the medium compound tyre. He wouldn't have gotten pole with that lap, I felt, but that was still a good lap.
Yeah, and I'm actually riding on board with Ab Draco here, and I'm not sure. I didn't recognise him in Q1. He kind of was on the quieter side of things, but he was actually purple in Sector 1. I'm not sure how his Sector 2 time is. He's just going through the beam, and it's a 52.0. But he was up a purple in sector 1, and he just made contact with the wall, and I think that's going to cost him now in this final battle of the lap. We'll see, can he still set a lap good enough to get into the final session. He still has ERS deployment coming across the line, so we'll see what his lap time is. It's a 1:10.1.
Whoa!
Great lap there from Ab Draco. Even with the damage and the contact hidden into the final sector, he's managed to set a low 1:10, which could definitely be good enough to get him through.
That's a truly brilliant lap. On board with Steffi Weffy Gamer as he is going into the tunnel on an outlap. He's had a little bit of a bit of a good start to the qualifying. P3, Q1. That was very good work from him, but he's still got quite a job ahead of him, because now he's got to try and get a good time on these medium tyres. A lot of the traffic has gone in, so he's got a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, and I've just noticed there's three, as you mentioned, Steffi Weffy. There's 3 drivers who haven't set a lap time yet, and this deep into the session, especially around Monaco, you need to put on your big boy pants and really go for it at the end of the session, because you don't have that safety net of having a lap already set and a banker lap set. So it's all or nothing in these final few laps for Sink Dan, Magic Mark, and Steffi Weffy.
Luckily, it looks like Steffi's actually on a belter of a lap here. Not the fastest first sector, but looking very nice and tidy going into the lowest hairpin. Keeping it nice and tight there, riding the curb into Mirabeau. And now into Portier. The Red Bull is onto the limit. This is the last time we'll actually ever see the Aston Martin sponsor on the Red Bull for the F1 games. Obviously, when F1 2021 comes out, they will be repping Honda, as Aston Martin is now a full-on works team. Now moving through the Nouvelle chicane, very nice and tidy into Tabac. On the power swimming pool section, flat out, nicely done into Pincenez. Almost clips the wall, same way ABA Draco did. Into Raskas, fastest second sector. Now into Anthony Noggs. Don't hit the inside like Josh did. Very tidy lap actually from Steffi. Crosses the line. What? Oh, there you go. P6.
It's just a bit delayed.
It was very delayed. That was a good lap, but
the
team didn't want to give it to me straight away. Oh, look at Steffi in Sturridge. That's a Schumacher Villeneuve right there.
Yeah, and I've watched on this as well. The top 3 of the top 4 have actually retired from the sessions. I think they're safe on 10.1, 10.0, and 9.9. Luke hasn't retired yet, but I presume he will. I think he's definitely safe. The people I'm more interested in is Stid, Dangerous, and Mega Centurion. They're all kind of 10.2, 10.3, 10.3. They're definitely within striking range of FFR Milan, but we're yet to see what Magic Mark and Sink Dan can do, and Breezy really needs to find a bit of lap time if he hopes to get into Q3, but they're all out on track now at the moment except for Mega Centurion, who actually may not get enough time to complete a lap if they don't leave the pits within the next 10 to 15 seconds, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. Just make sure that they do come out of the pits, otherwise they might be not competing in Q3 here.
Luki feels safe in P1, has retired from Q2, on board with Magic Marks as he pushes his way through the tunnel. I've noticed Muddy Biscuit has gone out for an outlap. He's going for safety, so if Muddy gets knocked down quite a bit, he has the freedom to do a quick lap. I've got a damaged end plate there. I think that might be Breezy's car. Breezy, yep, that's definitely Breezy. He's made contact with the wall coming out of the Nouvelle chicane. Damage for the Renault driver, but on board with the Williams driver of Magic Marks as he goes through Raskas into Anthony Noggs. This is what he's got to play for. If he can get into Q3, he can minimise that loss of that contact with Muddy Biscuit earlier on. Gets himself P6, overtakes the championship leader
keep an
in
eye
terms
on
of the timing sheet.
Here, he's up by 3/10 at the moment. He doesn't have enough to go through.
Only gets 12th.
So there's time to go for another lap. He has the ERS. It's just a matter of if he has the fuel, because he's currently on about 30% ERS. He will have enough to complete the lap. We'll watch his first sector, but it's just a matter of if he has enough fuel to actually complete the lap and complete the run.
Sink Dan in the Ferrari, the only car to have not done a time. Breezy is out of the session in 14th position. He'll be starting at the back of the grid, but will he be last or second to last as we see Sink Dan go round the last corner onto the DRS assistant on the start-finish straight? Goes P4. Breezy will be at the back of the grid. Now, question is the other Scuderia of FFR Milan, who's currently going through the tunnel section, he will be needing to get on it if they want to get Ferrari double Q3, which would be brilliant for the team. Lil Sparks has some time. Dangerous Dan goes second fastest with a 1:09.6. Muddy Biscuit is getting closer and closer to being eliminated as we're on board with FFR Milan. Fastest second sector. Brilliant work from the Ferrari. Now through into the final corner. A little bit of a slide there from the back of the car. Crossing the line, FFR Milan. He goes on pole!
And Stead is actually up by 0.3 of a second, so he definitely has enough to knock out Muddy Biscuit if Muddy Biscuit cannot improve on that soft tyre. And he does, so Magic Mark is at the peril of Stead, who improves and knocks him out.
Magic Marks, who would be P11 if he didn't have that contact with Muddy Biscuit. He'll be starting P16 due to the 5-place grid penalty, and what a Q2 that was. And a very big jumble up on tyres because we've got a couple of medium runners and a... Oh my god, even Muddy Biscuit got a 5-place grid penalty.
So he'll actually... The highest position he'll be starting is P6, but possibly an even bigger thing to notice is Luke got through on the medium tyre and Muddy Biscuit had to turn to the soft compound to get through, so that's a disadvantage for him in the Grand Prix for sure against his championship rival.
And going over the drivers eliminated is Breezy in 15th in the Renault, Lil Sparks in 14th in the AlphaTauri, 13th is Mega Centurion in the Alfa Romeo, 2nd is Sturgeon in Renault, and Magic Marks in 11th in the Williams. FFR Milan on pole in Q2 in his Ferrari, Lukey 2nd in his Racing Point, and 3rd is Dangerous Dan in the Mercedes. So very interesting Q3, and now we have to keep an eye out for the championship battle. If Muddy Biscuit gets on pole and Lukey gets second place, it's guaranteed Lukey on pole. Regardless here, whatever happens in Q3, Lukey has now got the high ground in terms of positioning here. If he can stay close to Muddy, if he can't out-qualify him, he will jump him anyways.
It's going to be quite interesting here now to see who can claim pole position, because if there's any track you want it on, it is Monaco for sure. So it'll be very interesting to see who can claim that number 1 spot and give themselves the advantage for the Grand Prix. As Lukey is heading out of the pits instantly straight away.
Would you like to do this on board? It's up to you. Once he gets round.
Yeah, I think I'll let you have it though. You've seemed quite enthusiastic about the Monaco hot lap, so I wouldn't like to steer the limelight away from you.
Actually, here's a question that might be a little bit fun for you. Obviously, we can't really put a finger on it, but what's your prediction for the top 3 for the start of the Grand Prix?
To who will qualify in the top 3?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Muddy Biscuit and Luke have to be up there, because Muddy Biscuit obviously had that low 109 in Q1. He struggled in Q2, and he was very lucky to get through. He only managed a 109.8. I think the pressure might have got to him. He was just being a little bit safe, not hitting the wall or getting close to the wall as you would on a flying lap for pole. He just wanted to secure his spot in Q3 with that 5-place grid penalty. But I think you have to put Muddy Biscuit and Lukey up there. And the rest of the field are so compact that it could be anyone from Sink Dan to Dangerous Dan. So it'll be very hard to call. But I think we're teed up for a wonderful pole position battle between Muddy Biscuit and Lukey.
If I was to make a prediction, I'd definitely say Muddy Biscuit on pole with Lukey in second. Obviously, regarding Muddy's 5-place grid penalty, he will have to serve it for the beginning of the Grand Prix, but this is just for Q3 at the moment. Muddy Biscuit on pole, Lukey second. I actually think Steffi could get P3. Steffi has shown really good consistency in this Grand Prix, and he has demonstrated it more than once, and I reckon he could get P3. Going on board with Lukey, the championship runner-up who now has the upper hand in qualifying for Q3 in the Monaco Grand Prix circuit, moving to the lowest hairpin. It locks up a little bit on the left tyre. Very slow there. As I said, that's the slowest corner in all of the Formula 1 calendar. Now moving into Portier, there's Stygian, the other McLaren. The one he doesn't have to worry about is Stygian's teammate, who's his target. Going down to the Novell chicane, braking a little bit late going down, keeping close to the wall on the entrance and the exit of the chicane. Now moving down to back, he has to keep on the power, flat out, swimming pool section, fastest second sector, into Pincenez. He moves on, clips the curb, almost gets close to the wall, into Raskas, locks up on the right tyre, goes a bit deep there, out of Raskas, now moving into Anthony Noggs, the championship runner-up. What lap can he do for the start of Q3? And he gets a 108.9, even with that deep lockup in Raskas, and 108.
And he's the first man we've seen into the 108. We haven't seen that from Muddy Biscuit. I think it was a 109.1 we saw from him. That is an incredible lap from Lukey, and it really says, come catch me if you can. And he has a half a second gap over Muddy Biscuit behind. He has really raised the bar around here and said, boys, if you can get me, try your best.
He's dangling, he's dangling that pole right in front of everyone. Steffi Weffy Gamer is yet to come out. Well, FFR Milan and Steffi Weffy Gamer are both yet to leave the pits to try their luck at a flying lap. Meanwhile, we're on board with Stygian in the other McLaren. He's gone for more of a Lando Norris sort of style to his helmet, which I quite like. The bright yellow fluorescent with a little touch of blue. Quite like that. I do quite like Lando Norris's helmet style.
I'm not sure, did you notice, he has a little video there for pre-season testing. He has a special little kind of camouflage design for pre-season. It's a black and I think yellowy striped helmet. It's the same design, but the colour aspects are very different to it. He just said it's for pre-season. Bring awareness to his the Mind campaign, I think is referred to. Obviously mental health through lockdown, so if you want to make sure people are keeping active, keeping good and keeping the right mindset.
Shrimper, you said what, Primus Gaming? What do you mean? Is it about my Lando Norris sort of admiration for his helmet design? I know it's obviously styled and inspired by Valentino Rossi, but I quite like it.
So Josh there did just to bring your attention to it, guys, he did a slower lap, lower ERS, just getting himself tuned into the track, and he's actually going for a flying lap now as he puts the first sector beam at an 18.2.
Going on my comment, get off my back, Shimper. I've just done a 12-hour endurance race and I didn't get a full night's sleep, so if I say something wrong like how Murray Walker does when he muddles up and he's like, oh my god, why did I say that? Get off my bum. I'm tired. I'm still trying to do this Grand Prix though, because I do love Monaco, so leave me alone, I know what I'm doing.
How did the 12-hour race go?
For my team, it went kind of bad. We had a bit of a rocky start because in the first stint, because of 6 stints and they're 2-hour drives each, I lagged out halfway through, but then the rest of the lobby did, so we didn't lose too much distance. Second lobby went all right until contact was made between myself and XRL Cornish, which costed me just a tiny bit of distance. Third one, my teammate Ganamashu didn't get to do a stint in stint 3. He got very upset and we got very close to withdrawing from the event, but we decided to finish what we started, being a full stint down with a little extra. We got 63 as P63 out of 70 GT teams, even with being over 170 miles down compared to the rest of the grid. If we would have had that session, as Michael had predicted, we would have been maybe 32nd. But it is what it is. We got through it. It was a very difficult event. The 24-hour was very difficult back then. Stygian cutting the chicane at Pincenez there. But yeah, that was a very difficult event. I do recommend it though. It's very fun, but you need to make sure you have the patience to take on an endurance race, regardless if it's 12 or if it's 24. It's a very, very difficult thing.
And just while you were giving us the rundown of the event, Josh actually shot himself up to P3 and he's currently out of fuel at the moment. He's just returned to the pits. But Josh is really putting himself in the hat there for the top 3. He currently has about a 2/10 gap back to Stid behind. So Lukey, half a second gap to the competition, and then Josh, actually looking at the leaderboard, Muddy Biscuit might need to be worried more about Josh than he is about pole position of Lukey, because there's less than half a tenth separating Josh and Muddy Biscuit.
Don't forget about Draco and Steffi. They're definitely really quick drivers. If Muddy, as you said, Muddy's got to be worried about the others now, because if Muddy can't get himself into the 108s, he will have to get his foot down and minimise that loss.
So Muddy Biscuit really does need to try and consolidate that P2, because it'll still drop him back to 7th on the grid, which is not where you want to be, and has 6 cars between you and your championship rival. But that lap from Lukey has now just set a 108.6.
We need to get Dangerous Dan back in. AB Draco gets 4th place. I'm waiting to see a response from Muddy Biscuit as Lukey, his championship rival, is now going through Portier. He's now pushing through to the tunnel section. I don't know if this is going to be a quicker lap. Moving down to the Novell chicane, what can Lukey do? Keeps it nice and tight, nicely done. His fuel light is on. He is running out of fuel. Moving into Tabac. Keeping on the power, moving to the swimming pool section, hugging that line quite nice and tight, through to Pincenez. Full power. I think Lukey might be done. Yep, he looked like he slowed down quite a bit there. I think he might have ran out of fuel. Yeah, that was a bit difficult for him. And now here's the moment we've been waiting for, your boy. The championship leader has finally emerged to respond to the incoming threats from behind him and hoping to maybe attack his championship rival for pole.
Actually, I'm not sure did you catch up on it, but Lukey improved his time. He now has 8 tenths over Muddy Biscuit. He's improved to a 108.6. So he's really raised the bar again here in this Q3 session and said, boys, if you can catch me, try your best. He's come back into the pits. I wonder will he go out again, but it was an incredible lap there that he did to improve.
I have to cut in here because we got someone in the chat called Nolade saying that Muddy is overrated, apparently, saying he's got average pace. The thing is Muddy Biscuit has gone through pretty much every race I've ever seen clean, without a penalty and no contact between another person. This sort of incident he had at Magic Marks is the first time I've ever seen him get a penalty. He's not the fastest driver on the grid, and we're not making him out like he is, but he is definitely one of the most consistent drivers I've ever seen. So before you say anything, he's a championship leader for a reason, and now we do an onboard with the championship leader as he goes and crosses the line and goes into Saint-Devote. This is all he needs. He's playing for it. Steffi Weffy Gamer gets 2nd place with a 1.9 dead, and Caesar 2 Wizard gets a 1.92. Now moving into the Casino Square, hugging it tight, going on the power. There's the stump past RSF Josh into Mirabeau. Locks up there on the right. Now moving into the lowest hairpin, hugging it nice and tight. Again, a nasty lockup. Now into the lower section of Mirabeau, hugging that curb on the inside. Moving into Portier. On the power, a little bit of the back end kicking out there. Muddy Biscuit is pushing like hell through the tunnel section. Now moving to the Novell chicane. This is important because he will fall down 5 positions. Cuts onto that curb very nice and finely, not invalidating. Into Tabac, full power, flat out through to the swimming pool section. Keeps on the power, now into Pincenez. Catches the wall and invalidates. That's Muddy Biscuit's day done. He's in 6th position. He will start in 11th place. If he doesn't, he's going back around and he's going to try again.
He's going for it again because he knows that the best position he can start at this Grand Prix is P11, which is really not where you want to be, starting outside the points. It's really out of your control at that point. You're kind of a passenger in the middle of the pack. As Jeff would say, no heroics into Saint-Devote because Muddy Biscuit wouldn't be able to afford to do so. With the championship in mind, he doesn't want to lose his gap that he's worked for here. And at the moment, it really is in the balance if he can get a good starting position here, because at the moment, as it stands, he will be starting P11, but he's gone for it again. He has ERS, so we need to see if he can improve his position on the grid.
On board with Sink Dan, the only car in Q3 to not get a flying lap in yet. He's left it very late through into Tabac. What can this Ferrari do? His teammates in P5. He's got to try and get a lot of work done because he will move up a position anyway because of Muddy Biscuit's 5-place grid penalty. Moving through into Raskas, he gets a nice, it's very close there. He looks like he might have misgeared. Going into Anthony Nog. What can Sink Dan do? He's had good pace in the season. Can he get himself up into the top spot in Q3? He gets P9. That's very good. That means he'll be P8 for the start.
And Muddy
Dangerous
Biscuit
Dan
is currently half a second down. I don't think he's going to improve here, and he doesn't improve his position or his time, unfortunately. So he's actually dropped to P7. So he will be starting P12 if Ab Draco and Dangerous Dan behind can't improve. As Dangerous Dan comes across the line, goes P9, and Ab Draco goes ahead of him, drops
P5
Muddy to P8.
Ouch.
So P13 on the, well, it could be P12 because it depends where Magic Mark is. I think he was P11, so he'll also drop. So I think that'll put Muddy Biscuit in P12 for the Grand Prix, which really isn't where you want to be. And obviously he got into the top 10, so he has to start on the soft compound tire. He doesn't have the choice to start on a harder set and go longer into the race. So really not what Muddy Biscuit would have been hoping for coming into the Grand Prix here.
Before we go on to, because there's a lineup for Q3, I would normally go over it, but I'd like to address and give massive credit to someone, our moderator, RSF1 Millsy. Lately, there has been problems in chat with people sort of saying stuff. Do keep in mind, we're just here for fun. We're just trying to do our best and enjoy some racing. If people are here to cause trouble, you will be warned, and if you fail to heed the warning, our moderators will get rid of you in due course, because obviously if you're going to be in the chat to just cause problems, you're not going to be there very long. And now we're in the transition period, so if you're wondering why we're not doing anything, we're currently waiting for the host of the session, which is Lukey, to ready up. In the meantime, that means before Lukey readies up, the drivers can go their strategy. If they started outside the top 10, they're allowed freedom of choice in terms of tyres. You can underfuel the car if you want, or you can overfuel. You can do pretty much nearly anything except for alter all of your setup. You can only alter slight bits of your setup due to Parc Fermé. And I now have a question for you. By the way, you boy, would you like to do the formation lap?
Well, I'll run over the compounds everyone has selected and give my opinion on where I think everyone will be set for the Grand Prix. But at the moment, obviously, we're just waiting for Lukey to ready up, so we can't see what compounds anyone has selected. But I'm definitely looking forward to the Grand Prix. It's going to be fascinating to watch Muddy Biscuit come through. And with his championship rival Lukey at the front of the grid, if he can get away well, he can really control the race. And he showed that he has a big pace advantage at the moment between pole position. As Alex asked what the pole time was, it was a 1:09.6 or a 1:08.6, I believe, was Lukey's pole time. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he can control the race and gain some valuable points back on Muddy Biscuit to close the gap in the championship.
And this is definitely, as we've already established in Q1, a circuit where qualifying position is important. In terms of the championship, Muddy Biscuit needs to minimalise his loss here because he's now P13. It's moved everyone underneath him 5 positions up. He's now got to make these positions cleanly, avoiding contact, and scoring some points. He will still lead the championship if he scores nothing today, but he needs to make sure that he can lessen the damage as much as he can, because with Lukey on pole and with Lukey's consistency, I highly doubt we'll see any mistakes from him. If Lukey does make a mistake, then it's only going to bring Muddy back into the game.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this race fares, and we're still just keeping an eye on here. Lukey, we're waiting for him to ready up the session so we can see what everyone's doing. But let's not forget Malibu. Unfortunately, after that incident in Q1, she will be starting at the back of the grid. I'll be interested to see how she can come through, because we didn't get to really see anything from her or her pace, because she didn't get to set a lap. So it'd be interesting to see what she does from the back of the grid.
And 55 viewers, by the way. Thank you very much. I guess a lot of you have been looking forward to the Monaco Grand Prix about as much as we have. So thank you very much for the 55 viewers. Very interesting. I've not noticed that sign there. That's how much detail that there is in this game that I've not really paid attention to. There's no smoking sign there. I didn't even notice. That's how much detail. I mean, why would you put a no smoking sign in the game? It's not like someone could just pop out and have a cigarette. Unless it's telling our drivers, no cigarette breaks while you're waiting.
The only thing smoking would be Muddy Biscuit's brain if he can't get into the top 10 and if Lukey runs away with a win. He really won't want to afford or allow his brilliant, it must be said, start to the season derail itself here in Monaco, because really a win in Monaco really does add confidence and could switch the momentum of a championship. So he really needs to aim for a good Grand Prix here. Heading into Baku, which could be said it is obviously is a street circuit, some similar aspects as Monaco, which is easier to overtake. But if Lukey can carry momentum from a good qualifying here into the race and then carry a good race result into the remainder of the season, it could be a turning point in the championship. But Lukey's ready up there, so hopefully when we see the grid, we'll be able to see what everyone is starting on and how everyone is set.
Would you like to do the formation lap, or would you like me?
Fire away.
Right, so for the Division 2 Season 4 Monaco Grand Prix, Malibu, the woman of 1,000 names will be at the back of the grid. Let's get these tyres up. On the medium compound tyre, Ripley one shot, 18th in the Williams. Oh, has made contact with Magic Marks. Not a good day for Marks. Ripley one shot, 18th on the medium. DRT Evo in the Mercedes will start in P17 on the medium compound tyre. Magic Marks, 16th on the hard compound tyres. Very cold hard compound tyre. Grunty, 15th on the mediums in P15. Breezy, 14th position. He's chosen to go for the soft, so a bit of an aggressive start for Breezy in the Renault. 13th, Lil Sparks in the AlphaTauri, going for the soft as well, so 12th, 13th and 14th is going for an aggressive push. Muddy Biscuit, who served his 5-place grid penalty after the contact with Magic Marks, will be starting in 12th position on the soft compound tyre. Mega Centurion 11th on in the Alfa Romeo. In 10th is Sturridge in the Renault. And 9th is Sync Dan in the Ferrari. 8th is Dangerous Dan in the Mercedes. FFR Milan in 7th in the Ferrari. 6th is Caesar 2 Wizard in the Alfa Romeo, who makes his debut. Very good start to the F2 season for him, especially of that P6 qualifying, especially in Monaco. ABE Draco, very good lap from him in the Red Bull. He's in P5. Stygian 4th in the McLaren. 3rd is Steffi Weffy Gamer in P3. I did predict Steffi would get into the top 3. RS Josh, who surprises us of getting a P2 entry in Q3. And starting on pole for the Grand Prix is Lukey, the championship runner-up at the moment. He can close the gap if he can score good points and if Muddy doesn't get anything. So here we go, lining up, and as I promised, we're going to get that Murray Walker start. This is for you, Murray. Here we go for the Azure circuit in the streets of Monaco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's go, go, go for the Monaco Grand Prix as Lukey gets a good start going off the line. Steffi Weffy Gamer challenges down the inside for RS Josh. Josh covers him off and he keeps up into the second position. Massive pack up at the back there as it looks like a bit of contact down the back. I think that might have been Muddy Biscuit, who's been caught in problems. The championship leader now down at the back of the grid. Not what he needs. Oh, that's a
and he has
very
front wing
bunched up
damage as
start.
well. Muddy Biscuit will need to pit at the end of this lap. He has massive damage to his front and right end plate, and he will need to make a pit stop at the end of this lap, which really is not what he would have wanted.
And that means he has to pray practically for a safety car to keep him in the game. And as it stands, as we go through Portier, it goes Lukey in pole with Josh second, Steffi third, Stygian fourth, Milan fifth, Caesar sixth, ABE Draco seventh, Dangerous Dan 8th, Sturridge 9th, Sync Dan 10th, Mega Centurion 11th, Sparks 12th, Grunty 13th, DRT Evo 14th, 15th Breezy 6th. Looks like Breezy and Evo had contact there. There's been a massive crash down the back in the Nouvelle chicane.
Muddy getting
Looks like all the
caught
drivers are still fine.
in that again. Muddy has definitely got to pit at the end of this lap. He's made a contact with the wall again on the rear. He's dropping away from the pack in front. He's definitely going to be pitting. And Evo has made a mistake in front. I think there will be 1 or 2 cars coming into the pits at the end of this first lap for sure.
Backed off. He's let the cars through without obstructing them. So very good work there to DRT Evo, who doesn't obstruct anyone, lets them go, and so he goes into the pits. The question is what are they going to go for? DRT Evo's putting on the hard compound tyre, and so is Muddy, so it looks like they're going for a more long-winded strategy and maybe taking them to the end, because I think those tyres could do it.
It's worth noting as well, Lukey has already broken the DRS to Josh. He's already 1.2 seconds in front, so if he can continue to extend that gap, he just needs to look for the gap in traffic, gap on the grid to avoid getting caught up, and he might be able to make his first pit stop. But obviously running the medium tyre means he can run much later in the Grand Prix than the cars behind running the C5 compound. But it's going to be very interesting here to see if he can pull that gap, and he's already extended 1.3 seconds and currently going purple in the middle sector.
And looks like we've got yellow flags in Sector 3. I think that might just be a game bug because it keeps on flashing the yellow flag even though there's no one in there before the leader arrived. Moving through to lap 3. And AB Draco is keeping Caesar honest in his debut. Caesar, a very good start. Looks like S04 Milan managed to get a good jump on a couple of positions. So very good work there to Milan. I'll double check to make sure he did jump positions, so it's not just me. Yeah, he did. So very good work to him. Sink Dan receives the first penalty of the day.
That's worth noting as well, just there's a bit of a gap starting to form between Mega Centurion at the bottom end of the top 10 in 10th place and the rest of the top 10. You're already starting to see some gaps open up, which obviously would be good news to Lukey if he has an engineer who can tell him those gaps, but you're looking at Mega Centurion is already almost 2 seconds behind Sturridge, and then you have Sink Dan, who is currently 2 seconds behind Breezy, so the pack is already starting to open up a little bit. It's early in the race.
As you know, this is the Monaco Grand Prix. Battles will not be common, so we'll try and make sure we give some drivers some even screen time. We'll try and catch a battle as it occurs, but on a tight circuit like this, I doubt we're going to see much overtaking action unless it's through pit stops.
It's worth keeping an eye on Abe Draco here. He's currently very close to the rear of Caesars coming out of the final corner. If he can get a good exit, which I don't think he has, DRS is obviously enabled, but it's going to be very hard to find an overtaking move unless you can get a really good exit or catch a driver lacking, because of how ineffective, it must be said, the DRS is on that main straight. It just doesn't give the advantages you'd see on a street circuit like Baku, or even somewhere similar like Hungary, which is so hard to overtake. There's still a much bigger advantage to be found from the DRS. But Abe Draco is really up the diffuser of Caesar's Wizard here, heading into the hairpin and going into the tunnel. It'll be interesting to see if he can try force a move, because he's on that medium tyre compared to Caesar's on the soft compound, so he'll want to get by and push further on to the rest of the top 3 on the medium compound.
A good little battle as well, not just between AB Draco and Caesar Wizard. Right at the back of them is Dangerous Dan and Sturridge. However, AB Draco and Sturridge have got the advantage. There's been an incident down at the Novel chicane. That's Breezy. He's made contact somewhere, lost control, and he has fallen down some places. He's got left end plate damage. Malibu, she's had a very good start. She's jumped from last place up to 14th position.
On the medium compound as well, I don't think she'll have to pit. I don't think she has wing damage. No, she doesn't. So she can stay out and so can Sink Down. But she's going to have a brilliant run, and obviously Sink Down with no DRS deployed. And she's still, even with Sink Down having no DRS, because he's not within a second of the car ahead, she can't get the purchase and the straight line advantage to get a move past Sink Down. And obviously with Malibu on the C4 compound, she'll want to get past Sink Down on the soft tyres and try to catch up to the pack ahead and get onto the back of Little Sparks and Mega Centurion.
On board with Stygian, as we can clearly see, the gap between Stygian and Steffi has increased dramatically. So you can clearly see the pace difference between the 4th place and 3rd. Lukey, Josh and Steffi are just on their own little way. Steffi's staying with Josh, but Lukey's just said goodbye to the pair of them, and he's instantly putting in some pace.
And you can see Lukey has already got a 15-second gap back, a 20-second gap back now to Malibu. Pit stop around here is about 25 seconds, and actually Sink Dan has made a mistake again at the chicane. Any damage? Yes, there is massive damage on the right end plate, so he'll need to pit at the end of this lap for sure.
He's lucky to have not DNF'd.
I didn't see the incident, I just saw that he went on. I didn't actually see the incident, so I'm not sure, but there is massive damage on that Ferrari.
It looks like it might have involved Grunty.
He's going to come in now.
Grunty's got damage.
Be interested to see if he fits the hard compound tyre, but everyone we've seen pit so far, and he is going to fit the C3 compound, but everyone we've seen pit so far has fit that harder compound to go deeper into the race. Grunty.
Oh, sorry to cut in. Rippling one shot going down the inside at Mirabeau Hotel on Breezy. Breezy's trying to cover him off, going into Mirabeau, and no, so not Mirabeau, no, it's hairpin. What a move by Rippling One Shot. He catches Breezy napping for just a brief moment, moves up into 13th position, the first overtake of the day, and I have to say it was a very clean overtake.
And you can already see there's a big gap starting to form. Unfortunately for Stygian, he just doesn't seem to have the pace as the front three ahead, and Lukey has already got a 3-second gap to the guys behind, so he just needs to keep it clean, and he'll actually be coming up to Grunty soon enough, who is just a corner ahead of him. He's about to go into the hairpin now. So Lukey could really have already be putting people a lap down this early in the Grand Prix, which really isn't what you want, because even if there is a safety car, you may not be able to take advantage and catch up to the back of the pack.
We've got a car on the track, stricken. That's Malibu. She's had a severe accident somewhere. Broken front wing.
Boxing
going into the pits. Is she going to go to the end? Because I know she hasn't had the best of luck when it comes to starts on the Grand Prix circuit. But this is Monaco. Anything can happen. I'm quite surprised for the moment. I know one will eventually happen. We haven't had a safety car. And we haven't had a virtual safety car.
Yeah, and actually, I can see
RSF1 Shane's joined.
Sink Dan has retired in the pit lane, so that probably won't cause a safety car. But we've already lost a driver from this Grand Prix, and it's Sink Dan in the Ferrari.
However, that was a retirement in the pits, so well done to Sink Dan for following the rules correctly in pitting in the pit lane. However, it doesn't look like the game wants to keep his car in there. It's forced the Ferrari back out.
I think that should be.
Hopefully that won't cause any problems.
I think it should be okay. There's a big gap. There's a really, really big gap.
That's a safety car.
Safety car's out, and Stygian is currently in the pit lane, so he would have lost out because he didn't pit. He had already come into the pits by the time that safety car had been deployed, so he might lose out here. It's going to be interesting to see.
No, it's good. It's good in a way because they've all got to stick to the delta. You know, he can give it a little bit of beans coming out of the pits. Hopefully he can try and catch the pack, but with that safety car, will it get back up into the top 4?
Very interesting to see. Stygian just goes past the safety car now. It'll be interesting to see if everyone takes a pit stop here, because Lukey will need to decide before he can see anyone else. Obviously, leading the pack by so much, he won't be able to tell if anyone's pitting behind. So I'd assume most drivers will take the pit stop, take the free stop, and fit a harder set of the compound, or a harder compound. But if Lukey pits and others decide to stay out behind him, he could lose track position. That might cost him. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Lukey does. We'll see as soon as he's coming into the swimming pool section of the track. Be interesting to see if he comes into the pit lane here.
If he does, he could take him to the end. The hards can do it.
And he has. He's pitted for
going
the
in,
hard
but the question
tire.
is what's he going to put on? I'm calling the hards. If it's not the hard, it looks like his pit crew wasn't even ready for him initially.
It is the C3 compound that he's fitting. It is, and everyone behind him is pitted. Does S04 and Land come in? He does.
He's been held up.
Josh is fixing this
Well,
front
luckily
wing.
gets back out.
I think Josh is going to lose a position to Steffi.
Steffi's jumped Josh.
Yeah, Josh had to replace his front wing there. And Ab Draco has actually stayed out and maintained or taken the lead from Lukey, as obviously Steffi was in the pits. Ab Draco would have been held up.
So currently right now, AB Draco leads the Monaco Grand Prix. Lukey second, Starge third, Mega Centurion fourth, and Steffi fifth. So a very interesting top 5. Josh, with that wing change, he's not lost too much. He's still P6, and he's still nice and close to the pack, but the question is, how long are these medium runners staying out?
And
this could be bad for Lukey. If Draco can't get away, and Lukey gets held up, and Lukey can't get past, this could bring the battle for the lead into a very scary spot for Lukey.
Yeah, and obviously you see Sturridge, Abdraco, Mega Centurion, and Magic Mark are the only 4 drivers not to have pitted and taken advantage of the safety car. So it's going to drive the pack really close together. And obviously, if Abdraco stays out, he could be thinking that this early in the Grand Prix, there's a very high chance of another safety car. If he can hold Lukey behind and take advantage of the safety car later in the race, that could be what he's hoping for. Because obviously, if he can't put a gap up on the drivers behind, he will lose out by not having made a pit stop here. But with Steffi in front, if he had pitted, he would have been held in the box and possibly lost more places than just staying out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But obviously, Muddy Biscuit still hasn't caught up to the back of the field, and Grunty, who is currently just going into the lowest hairpin now, has a lap to catch up because the safety car will probably come into the pits at the end of this lap. So hopefully we can get the whole train at one part of the track and nullify any early incidents.
Very interesting. This track has seen its fair share of incidents and crashes. Who can forget the 2014 Monaco Grand Prix where Jules Bianchi managed to secure his first points for the Marussia Formula 1 team when he scored P9 in the Ferrari-powered Marussia. And also 1996 when pretty much all of the grid DNF'd except for the top 3 with Olivier Panis winning the Grand Prix in the Ligier Formula 1 team, taking his first and maiden Grand Prix victory for the Peugeot running team. And it's very weird to say Peugeot because back in the day Peugeot was quite a formidable engine. Nowadays I don't know if Peugeot has got it to produce a Formula 1 engine.
Actually, I don't know how Peugeot, as I pronounce it, it's obviously different parts of the country. It's just my way to get my twist of it. Obviously, not many of you know I actually have a bit of French Canadian in me, so I kind of try to add a little bit of French zest to the Peugeot name. But it'd be very interesting to see. I'd like to see the likes of Peugeot and Ford back in Formula 1, and see if they can kind of reignite
the Cosworth engines.
Yeah, see if they could reignite the championship, because it'd be interesting to see. But the safety car is coming in here.
Safety car? And Grunty's not caught up to the pack yet. Grunty's really having the push now. Here we go for the safety car restart of the Monaco Grand Prix. AB Draco really doesn't hold the pack up that much. And it looks like we get going for the Monaco Grand Prix, going into Saint-Avold.
And they've caught Mega Centurion.
And it's still looking clean for the top 3. Lukey's hit the wall, but no damage there. But it's left him completely vulnerable to Sturridge. There's been a problem on the start. Malibu's down the back of the grid on the start-finish straight.
Facing the wrong way as well. No damage though that I can see. No, there is massive damage on the left front end plate, so she'll have to come into the pits at the end of this lap. Unfortunately, she just really hasn't had a Monaco Grand Prix to remember, has she?
No, but that's the thing with the Monaco Grand Prix. As I said earlier, it is a war of attrition. You may get good positions, but when you get bunched up by a safety car, it's so common to accidentally get caught up. And unfortunately, as you've seen, Malibu has been caught up a couple of times. Yeah,
and I just noticed there, the restart Mega Centurion has already dropped out of DRS range of Sturridge and Lukey. Unfortunately, just didn't get the jump. It was a very weird restart. It was a very late call from the safety car to come into the pits. The lights went out just as it went into the penultimate corner. So Draco didn't have much time to back up the pack, and it might have caught some people out. But obviously, Mega Centurion hasn't boxed yet. And this could work into Draco's hands, because if he can pull a big enough gap, about 15 to 20 second gap over Mega Centurion and the guys behind, then he might have a free pit stop up into P4. What I've noticed as well is if Steffi, Weffy Gamer and Draco want to work together.
Oh my god! FF1 Milan tried to take it round the outside into Saint-Avold, and massive contact of Magic Marks. That was huge.
And FF1 Milan does have massive front wing damage, front and left end plates both missing, so he'll be lacking a lot of downforce here around Monaco, which is not what you want. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't come into the pits at the end of this lap.
Magic Marks will not be happy of that. He's already been quite frustrated of how the day's gone so far. That will probably be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Malibu finally gets back around to the pits, putting on the C4 compound and a change of front wing. But back to my previous one, if Steffi Weffy and Abe Draco wanted to work together, Steffi Weffy could back the pack up and run at a pace that just allows Draco to open up a gap and possibly a pit stop gap over the guys behind. As we saw with the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix when Lando Norris not held the pack up, but just ran to a pace that allowed his teammate Carlos Sainz to open up a big enough gap to fit in a pit stop ahead of him, and obviously the McLaren team gained some much valuable points in the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix from that strategy. So it'll be interesting to see if that is in the works for the Red Bull team.
Looks like Josh is now starting to put a bit of pressure on Steffi, and Steffi's putting pressure on Centurion. Oh, Centurion got a little bit uneasy there coming out of the casino section. Moving into the lowest hairpin. There's the leaders. Lukey is cutting down that gap between himself and Draco. I think the medium runners are now starting to feel the lack of grip, as we can clearly see between Steffi and Centurion. Centurion just cannot open a gap between himself and the hard compound runners.
Draco coming through to 12 laps completed, so himself, Sturridge and Mega Centurion are the only drivers and have not pitted yet. But Muddy Biscuit back there in P12 is already 14 seconds off the lead, and he's stuck in the pack in the little bit of a train behind Mega Centurion, losing time to the front pack. So I know he's in the pack behind that again, stuck behind Little Sparks. So he's really not having a Monaco Grand Prix to remember here. He's 15.5 seconds now off the lead.
Steffi looks like he's struggling for some grip there, losing a little bit of time to Mega Centurion. Josh now collects a 3-second time penalty. Currently right now net second and net third. Going to have trouble fighting for the win now because Lukey still remains penalty free.
This is all Lukey has to do. He doesn't need to force a move. He doesn't even need to stay extremely close to Lukey. He just needs to Abdraco just needs to keep extending the gap, and don't forget that Mega Centurion and Sturridge need to pit. So he has, in theory, a 6-second gap, I believe, back to Steffi, who will be the net P2. So Lukey's doing all he needs to do there, just keeping it clean, keeping it consistent, and he'll take the net lead once Abdraco pits, and he'll have about a 6 or 7 second gap behind to Steffi.
On board is Stygian, who's keeping an eye on this battle between Josh and Steffi. Josh is really keeping Steffi honest at the moment, putting good pressure on the Red Bull. The Red Bull's getting a little bit squirrely out of Pincinay. It looks like Josh might try and make the move on the DRS straight, but gets a little bit tail happy. Very difficult, just a one DRS zone. And there's not really much room for overtaking. We saw FFR Milan try with magic marks, and we saw how that turned out.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on Muddy Biscuit here. He's actually almost dropped out of DRS range of one shot ahead. He doesn't have damage, and he's running on the hard compound tyre, so maybe it's just a lack of confidence here, or lack of pace, really, because he hasn't made much progress. Obviously, he had the incident in the first lap, but even since the safety car, he hasn't made much progress, and he was slowly starting to lose pace, one shot behind or ahead of him. But he really can't afford to get held up too much. He needs to try. He's not in a points paying position at the moment, so he really needs to try to make moves and make progress up the field, because as you can see, Dangerous Dan's already 2 seconds behind Caesar, who's almost 1.5 seconds behind Little Sparks. So he's running about 5-6 seconds away from Stygian ahead and Oris Joshua. Obviously none of these really have to pit again except for Sturridge, Mega Centurion and Draco, but he could be outside a pit stop. Could be outside the pit stop window of those guys if he doesn't make some moves here and make progress up the field.
Having a look down in the drivers outside of the top 10, on board with Riplin One Shot, who has got a penalty. He is staying within the DRS range of Dangerous Dan. Dangerous Dan has slightly fallen back from Caesar 2 Wizard, so it doesn't look like Monaco is Dan's favourite track of the season, but he's still doing pretty good in 10th position, and now he's got a little bit of pressure being put on him because he's got 4 cars behind him now, and now Dan's got to sort of either play the team game and helping Evo get by. It's really hard with Monaco. Teamwork is possible, but it's just too difficult to tell.
Yeah, my eyes have just been drawn to Mega Centurion, who's doing probably not, as Malibu has retired in the pit lane, so hopefully that won't lead to a safety car as St. Dan does, but our St. Dan's retirement did. But what I've noticed is Mega Centurion is doing an absolutely stellar job for Ab Draco here. Probably not consciously, but holding up that pack behind is really extending a really, really nice pit window for Draco to come back into. And I think Draco could definitely be fighting for a podium position here. He's pulling away from Lukey, apparently a 2-second gap. And if he can stay out and keep good pace for the next 10 laps or so, he should definitely have a pit stop window over Mega Centurion behind. So I think Draco is definitely one to watch for a podium shot here, which really came out of nowhere. The safety car really could play into his hands here if this kind of pace continues throughout the race. As Muddy Biscuit's being hit there from behind by Evo, there's no damage, but he really nearly hit the wall there coming into the hairpin. That was a very hairy moment for Muddy Biscuit, who could have definitely caused damage to his left front wing plate had he not reacted as quickly as he did.
Centurion has done really well, and I have to give credit to the drivers behind him who are not making impatient moves. They know one impatient moment could end your entire day. So they're all just sticking it out, hugging close to each other, and waiting for the correct opportunity to pounce. But you can see Steffi is eager to get going with the DRS assistance. Even with DRS, it's almost practically done nothing.
It's hard to tell, and obviously Steffi will know Breeze is disqualified for blocking the pit lane, and there's a Mercedes there of Evo who was caught up in that, I think, and Evo was pitted for
there might have been contact, yeah. Evo and Breezy going in,
and a replacement front wing. I wasn't watching it; it only popped up on my screen, so I'm not 100% sure what happened. We'll see if there's footage after the race that we can get for you, but. Yeah, I'm surprised there. That caught me off guard.
Yeah, that caught me off guard as well. I never would have thought that would happen, but I guess we learned something new. But I'm just hoping that car will move out of the way.
But just what I was about to say before that happened, Steffi behind Centurion, you can tell that Centurion still has a lot of ERS. There's not much between them, about 10%, but obviously once your ERS dips below 10%, you get the red light flashing in the rear of the car. So if Steffi can force Mega Centurion to use as much ERS as he can, as he just got a 3-second time penalty, it might leave an opportunity open. As Ab Draco has pitted and he's fitting a new front wing and the hard compound tyre, it'll be interesting to see where he comes back out
damage.
Here. It's going to be really tight
all that
here.
Work Draco did, I think it's been completely undone by wing damage.
Yeah, that's definitely cost him. That wing damage has definitely cost him a position ahead. He's lost about 5 or 6 seconds there with that wing change. So that's really unfortunate, but he's still running at the points, and he still has 2 drivers in front of him to pit that were behind us, so he could be on for P8, P9 this Grand Prix. But that wing damage is really, really unfortunate, as Lukey now will probably pull away from the chasing pack behind.
Indeed, he's managed to make ground. This is the perfect race for Lukey. Qualified pole, kept his head down, been very patient. And his patience has rewarded him the lead of the Grand Prix back to him. And obviously Sturridge and Centurion really can't do anything to challenge Lukey. So Lukey can now he can really get to it now. It doesn't matter if Sturridge gets closer to him, which Sturridge has now just gone to the pits. Sturridge is no threat. He's on an opposite strategy.
And Centurion stays out for another lap. Steffi Gamer here is really going to be getting frustrated behind Mega Centurion. He went for a move into the chicane, didn't pull it off, and he's really going to get frustrated. His ERS is nearly fully depleted here, and as you can see, Lukey will have a 15-16 second gap over the chasing pack. He really doesn't need to take any threats. It's been an absolutely stellar drive from Lukey here. Mega Centurion is also driving to their race. They don't need to let these cars behind. He's doing what he can to benefit his race, but it just happens to really be handing the win to Lukey.
And you have to give Centurion credit where it's due. He is trying to string out his tyres as long as he can, but for anyone who's decided to put on hards, which is pretty much everyone behind him, they are hating this. They're backed up.
Just grabbed my attention that Muddy Biscuit is up into the points in P8. So he's making progress up the field, but he still is sitting behind Dangerous Dan, who doesn't need to pit again, obviously, on the hard tyre, having pit onto the safety car.
14.7 seconds separate the leader from second place. So Lukey just commanding the Grand Prix after issues have been unfolding left, right and centre. Mega Centurion stays out another lap on those medium tyres, holding up those hard runners for as long as he can.
Yeah, it's really Lukey. If Lukey has his timing board up in the top left, he will just love seeing that gap extend. He doesn't need to take any risks. He can just drive to his pace, avoid penalties, avoid damage, and even if he dropped a second a lap on the guys behind, or half a second a lap margin, he really wouldn't have any issues at the end of the race. He's really drove he's had a great drive, and he's just doing what he needs to do, keeping it clean, keeping it out of the walls, and making as much progress as he can. It's Caesar and Dan are having a battle.
Oh, it looks like the ghosting there from Caesar glitched him out. Muddy Biscuit retakes 6th position. So Muddy Biscuit is back up higher positions in the top 10. But Caesar had a problem there in the lowest hairpin. No damage though, but he has a bit of work to do to reclaim that lost time.
Yeah, and Muddy Biscuit would have been hoping to take advantage of that and get past Dangerous Dan, who's losing, it must be said, a little bit of time, because if Muddy Biscuit can get past Dangerous Dan, he could be fighting through and still needs to pit. So if he can get past Dangerous Dan, he will be on for P4 net in the race, which would be a brilliant recovery drive from Muddy Biscuit, but he needs to try to get by Dangerous Dan here. Obviously, with no penalties, he'd be hoping to take advantage of those in front and maybe possibly get a podium position. But he needs to try to get past Dangerous Dan and start closing on that top 3.
I imagine if Lukey could get enough time, he could go for the fastest lap as well as pole. You know, he's got the comfort. He's not got any pressure being applied. The gap is let's just face it. The gap is being forced wide open. Lap per lap per lap. It's like a 25 second pit stop here.
I think it's between 20 and 25.
Just in this brief moment of me talking, 0.6 of a second has opened up between Mega Centurion and Lukey. The gap is bigger and bigger and bigger. He could easily do it once that gap has increased. I'd say safety zone, 30 seconds, and then he could slap on a new set of tyres and then take maximum points home and deny Muddy Biscuit of the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Imagine that, 26 points. That would be a clean sweep.
And I've just noticed that Dangerous Dan is close 2 seconds this lap on Mega Centurion in the group ahead. So Muddy Biscuit, as I said, he needs to make a move. He might not even need to make a move. If he can continue getting closer to this pack and just maintain it, with no penalties, he'll definitely take advantage of that. Because Mega Centurion now is starting to drop that pack behind into Dangerous Dan and Muddy Wizard. You could have, or Muddy Biscuit, you could have P2 to P8 all covered here on the pit straight. Because if you look on the map, it really is. They're all in the vicinity of the 2 hairpins. From Ab Draco up to Mega Centurion, who really is losing time here.
This is open for anything. I don't think any of us could have anticipated such a large train being held, and Mega Centurion still has to pit. At this rate, Mega Centurion's kind of acting like his own safety car.
I think Mega Centurion would drop out of the points. There is a gap there between Magic Mark and Milan, but I think he's definitely going to drop out of the points. I think it might be worth his time to pit soon, because those medium compound mustn't be in the greatest shape at the moment.
And if he fails to adhere to the rules with going to the end on these medium compound tyres, he will be disqualified from the Monaco Grand Prix. And Steffi Weffy Gamer finally makes a move down the inside. Mass contact, and they spun. Luckily, no real massive damage done. Centurion still holds the front, but all the pack has gone closer and closer to each other.
Actually, everyone in this train is covered by 5 seconds, less than 5 seconds. 3 seconds cover. Mega Centurion in 2nd place, and Ab Draco in 10th, as Grunty had an incident there at turn 1, hit the wall, and Stygian has retired from the Grand Prix in the pit lane.
That's a safety car. And that's from Stygian retiring in the pits. Stygian retired correctly by the rules, and the game has decided to deem that a safety car.
Luke is pitting. It's taking advantage of the safety car. Definitely going to hold a position. There's no worry about that. He has a 28-second gap to the guys behind. He's definitely going to maintain the position. Is he going to fit the soft tyre compound? He is. So he's going to have maximum pace to the end of this Grand Prix.
Can they get to the end though? He's being held up. No, he's not. There you go. That was just a visual bug.
And Mega Centurion.
So can these softs get to the end of the Grand Prix?
But if you have 2 laps under the safety car, and obviously Lukey can run at his own pace. There's no need for him to push. He's going to be in prime position. He can run at his own pace and try to go to the end of the Grand Prix with low minimal tyre wear. But I think this one, Mega Centurion has fitted the hard compound tyre, and I think Draco has fitted the intermediates by accident. That must have been a mistake when he was selecting his tyres.
Dear. Intermediate tyres. That's not going to bode well for him.
Oh, and Draco, who was actually leading the Grand Prix, I gave him a podium shout. He's now running in P11 on the intermediate tyres. Definitely going to need to come back into the pits if he can even get back to the pits in one piece and fit a set of the dry tyres. But Lukey on the soft compound is fresh set of soft compound tyres against everyone else behind him on the hard tyre. He definitely should be in prime position to pull away from the pack behind, because those fresh C5 compound will have plenty of grip to eat through in comparison to the older and worn down C3s of the drivers behind them.
Muddy Biscuit back in contention on the podium, as Steffi, Weffy Gamer and Josh both have penalties. Let's have a little look at the penalty situation as it is. Steffi has 3, Josh has 3, Caesar has 3, Sparks has 3, Sturridge has 8. So that means if he goes into the pits, he will serve a 5-second stop and go penalty. If he doesn't, it will affect his finishing time at the end of the race. Centurion has 6, Evo has 3, Draco has 3, and Grunty has 6 penalties, a 6-second penalty as well.
If obviously Lukey and Mike can keep it clean. Lukey, I might go without saying, but I think Lukey is in prime position to take this victory home on the fresh compound tyre. Everyone is behind on older C5s. There should be no reason that he can't take it easy and take the victory home. But Muddy Biscuit, if he can keep it clean, should definitely be in contention for possibly even P2 if he can avoid getting any penalties and stay within 3 seconds off Steffi Westby. And with Dan out of the way now, with Dangerous Dan having pitted, he won't have anyone in between him and the guys in front, so he can fully focus on maintaining that gap as Draco's pitted and fitted the soft compound from the intermediates.
It's going to be very hard for people like Dangerous Dan to do a fastest lap of the Grand Prix due to the fact that he's got the whole pack with him. He won't be able to actually have maximum pace, unlike Lukey, who's up in front. Clean air. I think Lukey could easily get the fastest lap and hold it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be if Lukey doesn't manage to take away 26 points in this Grand Prix, I'd be very surprised. Unless Steffi can catch him off guard here at the restart, which will be very difficult given the advantage of grip that Steffi has as a deficit to Lukey. But unless he can catch him off guard here at the restart, as the safety car is coming in this lap, as the lights go out, I think Lukey will pull away and win.
Yeah, here we go for the safety car restart. Lukey backing up the pack a little bit. Into the last corner we go with the Monaco Grand Prix. Lukey gets a good run going through, and now it looks like Josh is challenging Steffi Weffy Gamer going into turn 1. It's been an instant. No, we're still racing. Green flags, and we restart the Monaco Grand Prix for the second time. Steffi is being pressured heavily by Josh. Dangerous Dan actually got past Mega Centurion there into turn 1 cleanly, so very good work from Dangerous Dan. He's not playing around at all, so good way of capitalising, and even with the penalties in front, Dangerous Dan could move up quite a lot of positions here.
I think Lukey has already pulled that 1 second gap, so he's gone out of DRS range, and hopefully for himself he'll be hoping that he can pull away and just get the fastest lap and maintain clean pace and no damage towards the end of this race, and take home the victory of the Monaco Grand Prix. But Josh and Steffi here is a battle I really want to keep an eye on. for P2 in the Grand Prix.
They're doing really good work on staying with each other. Josh clearly is faster than Steffi, but because of this track, he just can't seem to make the move to get past Steffi's Red Bull. And you have to give Steffi credit where it's due. He is doing an absolute monumental job in holding back the Haas.
He's making that 1 meter Red Bull feel like 5 or 6 to Josh, because he is covering every portion and every sector of the track. There is no possibility for Josh to get by. Even I saw Josh get a better run out of the tunnel down into the chicane, and he didn't even have a look because Steffi defended it as well as he could, made that car as wide as he could.
Josh just got a little bit unsettled there as he went through Beau Rivage, and luckily no damage, but he had a slight little wobble there.
And it's just interesting to see, obviously, Lukey has pulled his 4.5 second gap, but there still is less than 10 seconds covering the rest of the field from P2 Steffi to P14 and Draco. So realistically, there's a point finish and a podium finish here up for grabs for everybody in the grid.
Dangerous Dan, meanwhile, has gotten past Sturridge. He's climbing up the grid. Mega Centurion to collect a 3-second time penalty, and it looks like we've got a car down the back. That's AB Draco and Grantastrophe in the Nouvelle chicane. Things just keep on getting bad, from bad to worse for poor Grunty. Dangerous Dan, meanwhile, is eager to get past the AlphaTauri. DRS has been enabled
now, heading into the third lap after the safety car restart, so Josh should be hoping he can use that to his advantage and get past Steffi, because if he can get past Steffi, as Grunty gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane and retires, if Josh can get past Steffi, he'll be hoping to pull a 3-second gap to Muddy Biscuit behind and maintain that podium position, because they can't forget, they'll be able to see on their timing screens on the left who has penalties, and both of them will know that Muddy Biscuit doesn't have a penalty. So realistically, Josh and Steffi here are fighting for the final podium position.
Dangerous Dan getting a little peek on Lil Sparks going into the lowest hairpin, but due to the road running out for Dangerous Dan, he backs off and waits for another opportunity to pass the AlphaTauri. It looks like it might be here. See AlphaTauri struggling to get away into the Nouvelle chicane. Yeah, Dangerous Dan just has to bide his time, try again in a moment. Meanwhile, Lukey continues to extend the lead by 6.2 seconds.
He heads on to lap 30 with 10 laps to go. He'll be hoping just to keep it. And there's an incident. Josh has spun into the second to last corner, and he's lost a massive amount of time as Dangerous Dan goes around the outside. There's damage, there's contact, and Dangerous Dan will have front wing damage, and Josh is falling back through the grid, possibly going to be overtaken by Mega Centurion. He holds his position into turn 1, and Draco is retired from the session in the pit lane.
Oh, they're clashing. This free wide going up by Rivage.
Bumping wheels there into the chicane, and Mega Centurion gets by. Josh will really be hitting himself on the head after that. He really didn't.
Everyone's getting all argy-bargy.
Ferrari goes down the inside now. Josh could fall out of the points, and there's contact. There's massive contact between Josh and the Ferrari. The Ferrari loses his front wing, goes past Josh, and there's a safety car.
Virtual
safety car. Sorry.
That's massive. I don't know what was happening with Josh there, but it looks like he was just bouncing off the walls like just a bouncy ball, practically. What's happened is it's caused problems.
Yeah, so obviously FFR Milan will need to pit. He has no front wing. The McLaren or the Mercedes of GRT Evo has damage to his front right plate. He'll possibly need to pit. I think Mega Centurion should be okay, and everyone ahead of him and will be okay. But Lukey will be looking at this and just wondering what is going on behind me. I'm out here, I'm enjoying myself, thinking about a beach island. I don't need to worry about anything. I'm not even thinking about the Grand Prix anymore. I am gone away, and what is going on behind me, because he has had the cleanest race he could have hoped for, but everything behind him is kicking off, and this is the third safety car we've had, which is now cleared and everything back to normal.
And this is brilliant for Muddy Biscuit, because now he is net second place. He can put some pace in, catch up to Steffi, and just stay there. He doesn't need to make the pass. Meanwhile, Dangerous Dan has got yellow wing damage. It's very minor, so he can still go to the end. But the question is how far can Dan get up?
Yeah, and I'm really, really disappointed for Josh because he was really looking good for a podium position, and he is now 30 seconds away from the points, 34 seconds away from his P3 that he was running in. So it's going to be really difficult for Josh to come through and get some points here, which would be a massive, massive negative for him leaving this company because he was definitely fighting for a podium position there.
That's the first time ever I've seen this kind of bug in an F1 game, a gearbox glitch. Yeah, it looks like everyone's quite interested into what happened with Josh's driving there when he was hitting the wall. Obviously, if it's something that warrants worry, it will be investigated after the Grand Prix.
Yeah, we won't comment on it. We don't know what was happening. It could have been obviously a visual glitch for us. We don't know. So if there has been an incident, the drivers will have discussions with the stewards after the Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, DRT Evo with a massive damage lets Magic Marks by nice and safely. So very nice work from DRT Evo. I think Evo doesn't see the point in pitting, but he has got quite substantial damage. He'll lose a lot of time to FFR Milan behind him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Evo does because he has the gap behind, but there's only 7 laps remaining. So it's going to be interesting to see if DRT Evo stays out and tries to reclaim that 10th place. It just depends on how much time he's losing. But with Milan behind on fresh, soft tyres, he'll probably be setting low 1 minute 12, 1 minute 13 lap times. So it'll be interesting to see if Evo does come into the pits. And lucky here, trying to set a fastest lap, but at 12.7 and really low ERS amount, it's going to be difficult for him to set a fastest lap. And Magic Mark on an 11.7, so running a second quicker. Then Lukey, it's going to be tough for him to take that lap, and obviously with Magic Mark running in the points, he will take that point.
He also collected wing damage there for somewhere. Magic Marks. Very interesting.
Running on himself, so it must have been in contact with the wall, unless there was an incident we didn't see, and if there was, we apologise for not picking up on that. But
I was on board with him for quite a while. I think just while we was on like broadcast view. Oh, FFR Milan. But then again, he's on the fresher softs.
Yeah, but obviously his softs aren't around Monaco. 6 laps worth of wear isn't going to cost you that much. I just think Luke is struggling to. He doesn't want to take the risk. He has 25 points in his back pocket. That one extra point really isn't enough of an incentive for him to really push and obviously possibly cost himself the 25, because he can see that Muddy Biscuits in P3 within the, well, not within, but he can see that Muddy Biscuits in P3, and he can see that Steph gets a penalty. So an incident for Luke, he could hand the win to Muddy Biscuit, which would be disastrous for him. So he's really probably just taking his 25 points, and he's going to let that one extra point go to whoever
sorry
goes
to cut
to.
in, there's a Merc that's gone.
That's Evo, is it?
Evo.
That promotes Milan up into
That is
the
definitely
points.
DRT Evo. He's crashed down the very end of that slip road. He's just Austin Powersing it at the moment. If he doesn't get going, he will get disqualified for being idle.
He's trying to go
backwards on the track.
I think there's a wall behind him that's stopping him getting out, so he's trying to get back on, but he has been disqualified there. That's
He's been disqualified for parking in a dangerous location.
And Josh is retired in the pits, so if everyone, I think we have completed enough of the Grand Prix for everyone, even if they retire at this stage, they will be classified, I believe. So I think everyone we still have left in the Grand Prix right now will get points and bring them home.
So half of the grid is gone. 19 cars started, only 10 remain, and there's still 5 laps to go for the Monaco Grand Prix.
The only battle on track at the moment within DRS range is actually Sturridge in the Renault, and he is chasing down Dangerous Dan in front.
Dangerous Dan's damage, as well as his worn softs, is now starting to really be apparent, and that's going to warrant concern for Lukey. If we can see Dan struggling for pace on these softs at the moment with that damage, like, disregard the wing, it might seem like the softs just don't last that long.
Yeah, and obviously if you remember back to...
And the gap... Oh, gone?
No, I'm just going to say, if you remember back to qualifying when I mentioned the two Alpha Tauris or the Alfa Romeos, their soft tyres in qualifying after a lap were above 100 degrees. So as Sturridge goes for a move down into the hairpin, And Dan is going to hold the inside. It's going to be interesting to see if Sturridge can get the cutback, and there's contact on the rear. Dan just forces shows him the outside, which is fair enough. Stops him getting the cutback. But that was a good attempted move there from Sturridge, but he just couldn't pull it off. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get the the ERS deployment. And he is deploying his ERS here, and Dangerous Dan obviously is less than 10%. As you can see, that red light is going to be interesting. He's going to go down the inside, is he? No, he's going to cover it off. But with the soft tires that I mentioned qualifying, they were above 100 degrees, and that could be cause of concern if Lukey and Dangerous Dan are having that issue with their tires and they are overheating, because obviously they've been losing rear traction and rear grip.
So Muddy might not get net second place like he thought he would. He's losing serious pace to Steffi Weffy Gamer. I think that's the age of his tyres now starting to really show. The question is can he get to the end of the Grand Prix on those hards?
Be a tough call. There's still 4 laps to go, so he'll be hitting 30. Don't forget he pitted on lap 1 on that incident, so he would have done almost a full race distance on that set of C4 or C3 hard tyres. So it'll be interesting to see. And Sturridge was down the inside again. There's light contact, bang of wheels, but I think he's got the move completed here. He does. He's passed Dangerous Dan. He's come back up the inside, but Sturridge should be able to hold it the inside for the right-hander into the tunnel, and he's good. I think he should have that move done and completed with Dangerous Dan having the damage and the older tyres, or the worn soft tyres. I think Sturridge should have that move completed.
It's a very big challenge there to get the position back from Dangerous Dan, as he wasn't willing to let Sturridge go. Magic Marks is now getting a bit of this action going into the back, but he realises too dangerous of a call to make a move there. Backs off and then waits for another moment. Dangerous Dan finally collects a penalty. And
that would be what he wanted to avoid, because if he could have stayed within the time of Sturridge, he could have got that position back. Obviously on post-race penalty, but having picked up that 3-second penalty, it looks like now he'll lose out to Magic Mark behind him.
Magic Marks is going to try and go round the outside. Josh shuts the door. No, not Josh. Dangerous Dan shuts the door massively on Marks there, not making it easy for him.
No, and Milan's got Fat Mega Centurion, who's pitted for a set of the soft tyres. So Magic S04 Milan, who's running P12 only 5 or 6 laps ago, is currently up to P9 with the fastest lap. It looks like he'll be coming home 3 points here today.
Oh, the battle for P7 is really getting squirrely, as Marks is really trying his best to get past Dangerous Dan. I think Dangerous Dan's softs have just completely fallen off.
And Magic Mark is deploying his ERS here. He's down to 0%. He's going for a move on the outside, but Dangerous Dan covers the inside, and that should be the move covered until the pit straight.
I think maybe going for mediums would have been a safer call.
Yeah, as you can see, the tyres are the same, the pub hitting on the same lap, so obviously the further they go, the more disadvantage Dan will be on the tyres, because his tyres will wear out quicker and lose more grip than Magic Marks will over a similar period of time.
Clips that wall there.
He got a good run though going into the first corner, he puts it on the inside. Dangerous Dan covers it off. Magic Mark is really going to be frustrated here, because he has the run, but he just can't complete the move past Dangerous Dan.
It's almost like the gap's there and Dan's just slamming the door on Mark. Mark's doing his absolute best to take advantage. He hits the back of the Mercedes. He just can't get the move.
Dan is dangling that PA7 in front of Magic Mark like a carrot on a stick in front of a rabbit. And Magic Mark just can't reach out and grab it.
He will jump him regardless with the penalty, but the quicker Marks can get forward and take advantage of the others of penalty, the better. But Dan is just not making that work, as Lukey now finally crosses the line for the last time before the checkered flag in the Monaco Grand Prix, and he's actually now losing time to Steffi Weffy Gamer, because Steffi Weffy Gamer has now cut out a full second between himself and Lukey. Question is, we'll go on board with Lukey now. Has he got any problems with his tyres? Because if Lukey suddenly gets a puncture, that could be huge.
Yeah, I was going to keep an eye on Magic Mark coming out, because this could possibly be his final move. He got 20% DRS, he's deployed it, and DRS is going down the inside. I think there should be the move done from Magic Mark, and he's down the inside of Dangerous Dan, takes that position into Sunday Vlot on what would be the final lap of the Grand Prix. That would be a great source of satisfaction for Magic Mark, getting that move completed, and it was a lovely clean move down the inside, and he should put away and maintain that P7.
And now on board with the championship runner-up who did everything right today as he goes through to back. Through the swimming pool section, he's celebrating already, but I don't think you should celebrate in Monaco until you've crossed that line. Moving to Raskas. His tyres are shot. You can see he's struggling. Round the last corner in the streets of Monaco. A crown jewel of the F1 calendar. Lukey crosses the line and wins the Monaco Grand Prix and closes the gap over a slight margin between himself and Muddy Biscuit. Steffi Weffy Gamer crosses the line second place. Muddy Biscuit just couldn't get close enough to Steffi. Crosses the line third. A very good recovery drive by the championship leader who claims his podium in Monaco. And if anyone wants to say he's not a good driver, I think that has completely slapped those words back in that person's face, because a P3 after being knocked out of the top 10, fighting his way through the pack, being on those tyres since the start, that is commendable work by Muddy Biscuit.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Milan, who was running P12 as the final safety. He was 40 seconds away from points in front of him, and they managed to jump up to P8 with dangerous stance penalty and take home the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So he's going to take home 5 points from the Monaco Grand Prix, which looked out of sight when he was running P12 just after the final safety car.
It looks like Mega Centurion could pip the fastest lap here, fastest second sector.
He's run out of fuel.
He does it.
Across the line,
He's denied someone that extra point. He's got the fastest lap and P10. Looks like Mega Centurion takes home. He takes home 2 points.
The game is telling me that Magic Mark was driver of the day. I'm afraid I'll have to disagree, because my shout for driver of the day would have to be Lukey, because it was just a dominating display. At one point had a 25-second lead before that final safety car. A really, really dominant display from Lukey there to take home the 25 points.
I'll have to give my vote to Muddy. He pitted on lap 1 in huge contact, wing damage and everything, held it out and got to the end of the Grand Prix, penalty free, might I add, and claims a podium. I have to say that performance from Muddy definitely has earned my vote for driver of the day. And while your boy gets the top 3 into the podium, the podium interview, he started on pole and finished on pole. Lukey commanded the Monaco Grand Prix and wins under the City of Principality. I hope I said that right. And he's going to relish this one because it cuts his gap down between himself and Muddy Biscuit in the championship battle. In second place is Steffi Weffy Gamer. He claims a podium. Very good work to him. Muddy Biscuit, who gets up to third place after starting 12th with that 5-place grid penalty earlier on he got in Q1. Caesar 2 Wizard gets 4th in his debut for the F2 division, so well done to Caesar 2 Wizard. Lil Sparks 5th in the AlphaTauri. Very good work to him. Starage 6th. Magic Marks 7th. Good recovery drive from Magic Marks as well, especially being down farther back of the grid and lots of things happening to him. 7th place is really good. FFR Milan 8th, Dangerous Dan 9th, and Mega Centurion, he rounds off the top 10 and the last of the cars that actually finished the Grand Prix. Josh 11th, Draco 12th, Grunty 13th, Stygian 14th, One Shot 15th, Breezy 16th, Malibu 17th, Sync Dan 18th, and then I didn't get to see the last car there. Yeah, so then we got Muddy Biscuit in. Who else is in the podium interview?
Steffi and Lukey, who took the win.
Everyone's in now?
Yeah, we're all good to go.
I'll do third, you do second, I'll do first.
Fire away.
Right, so, Muddy. Right, so you being here is no change for us. Except for today's been under very different circumstances. You had a very, very horrible start to the day. You got that 5-place grid penalty, which set you down to 12th place for the start. But you pitted lap 1, put those hards on, stuck it to the end, and you found yourself in the podium position. So you've lost a tiny bit of your lead to Lukey, but you've maximised your points today. I imagine you're pretty happy at that.
Honestly, I don't know how I'm here. That's probably the most topsy-turvy race day I've ever had. Top to Q1. First time in a long time I've actually topped the qualifying session, and had an incident where I clipped the ball spun, again where it didn't go properly or just got clipped by Marks, which I think is an unfortunate incident. And yeah, I'd like to drop me down to 12. Yeah, didn't have the Q3 at all, just bottom of my lap, probably should have been maybe third or fourth. in terms of the grid, which was dropped sort of still in the top 10. Then lap 1 midfield got forced out wide. I think it was turn 1 instances. Damaged my front wing, had to pit on lap 1. And then Stroll came out, I think me and Evo both pitted, and Stroll gapped like third to last was like 25 seconds. So I thought, I'm probably going to be losing 25 points to Luki today. Maybe if I'm lucky, make it 8th, 7th, maybe limit damage, maybe 20 points. That was sort of the target I was hoping for. And then the safety car came out, maybe like 10, 15, something like that. And I was still down in like 13th, 14th. And thought, yeah, but the turn is probably going to be my target. And I just managed to avoid incidents. It was just keep it clean. And then would have liked to challenge Steffi at the end there, but I actually got damage coming out the pits on lap 2, so I had a damage warning for the whole of the race. And I also had my second warning on lap 25, 26, so then those last 10 laps, I was knowing I wouldn't be able to get second if I had a penalty myself. I had to just keep it clean, but yeah, Steph had too much of a pace with my damage and having to avoid corner cutting. So yeah, third, I'm pretty happy seeing that I was 19th on lap 1, so I'll definitely take that.
Can I just ask, what percentage were your tyres on from lap 2 to the end?
I don't think they were actually too bad. It's 2 safety cars helped me. I think they might have just been high 60s, maybe 69%. Yeah, luckily they were definitely sliding around a bit at the end, but yeah, nowhere near sort of. I wasn't really worried about punches.
They are extremely viable then. So if anyone has any lap 1 incidents throughout the remaining of the race week, hard tyres from lap 2 onward is definitely possible. It's just a matter of keeping the consistency. Like you've done a very tremendous race today. And with that P3, because as you said, you was had the low expectations, you was thinking it's going to get P8 or maybe P7 at a push, and you get a podium. So yes, sadly you do lose a bit of your lead to Luki, but on the bright side, mate, you know, losing out 10 points to him is better than losing out on 25, so there's always a silver lining. And you, regardless if you were going to finish today or not, you would have still held your lead of the championship going into Baku. And that's the next question. How are you feeling for Baku?
Again, I think that's one of those races where you have to keep it clean. And Baku, I like it. Strong track. I don't know what my pace is like. It seems like now Luke seems to be the quickest in every race. I think it's a matter of just try to keep with him, hopefully make some mistakes and try and capitalise on any mistakes he makes and try and get a strong result.
Right, well, congratulations on that amazing recovery drive, P3, and yeah, I mean, me and your boy have already made a vote on who our chosen driver of the days would be. If you want to make your choice, and speaking to the viewers, by the way, if you want to make your choice on driver of the day after the stream, please head to Twitter, Racing Series F1, and you'll be able to make your vote on your chosen driver of the day. And now I'm going to hand it over to your boy Pro, who will now interview Steffi Weffy Gamer, who finished second.
Steph, how's things? Obviously, looking at the results you had in Spain last week, a P13 is no points to finish. Surely this is the perfect way to bounce back and get your season back on track.
Yeah, this is really good. I don't know what to say. I wasn't expecting that at all.
And you're currently running, must be said, lower in the championship. You've scored more points tonight than you have in the rest of the season. So really, just sum up how you're feeling. Podium in what must be said is probably the most sought after podium. Any driver, if you ask them on grid, they will wear their podium or desired podium would be surely it would be Monaco. So how does it feel to take 15 points away, or 18 points away from the Grand Prix here?
It feels good, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely wasn't expecting the podium today. After I got a penalty, I think after I exited the pit, I was like, oh, my race is over. And then I also got wing damage as well. I had yellow wing for like a majority of the race. So I was like, okay, this is good. This is really good. So yeah, I was really happy.
And just the final thing for me is you had that 3-second penalty, I believe it was, and with Muddy behind you, who obviously leading the championship, you managed to pull, I think it was 5 or 6 seconds on him at the end of the race. And were you surprised that you had that pace? Were you expecting that, or were you confident that you would be able to pull the 3-second gap? And even towards the end of the race, close on Luki, or was that a surprise to you that you had that pace in reserve?
Really? Oh my god. I mean, I was surprised that I didn't really check anything. I was just like zoned out. It's really weird. But yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. Congratulations on the podium. I'll hand it back to Primus to interview our big winner.
Before I head over to our race winner, Steffi, if I'm correct, that's your first ever podium in RSF1.
Yes, it is.
Well, congratulations on your maiden podium for the season. Your first, hopefully the first of many. It all depends on how the rest of the season goes, but yeah, on a very difficult track like today where you had many changes going on, enjoy your first podium, mate. That was well earned.
Thank you.
And you're welcome, mate. And now we're going to move on to Lukey. Today has been a very, very strong day for you. You took pole in Q3. You started on pole in the race. You got an amazing launch. And throughout the entire Grand Prix, you've been pretty much uncontested. I've not seen anyone do that in a very long time within Division 2. So tell us how it's been for you today.
Yeah, a very good day. My main focus going into it was get pole, get a good start, put away for the first 5 laps or so, and then just control the pace really. So that was my main, what I was mainly doing. Safety car came out, pitted early onto hards, and just tried to go to the end, just pulled a gap really. So just trying to be patient as well, behind Draco, who was in front of me for that second stint. So it was a bit of a challenge to keep it out of the wall, but in the end, got the win.
And that's done you a pretty big favour, because even if Muddy would have he wouldn't have finished, the safety didn't, you would have still been second place, but you would have cut the gap down. But because he made a good recovery drive, you've only reduced the gap between himself and you by 10 points. And you've got Baku coming up. Do you think you could replicate that result, or do you think with Baku being a little bit more wider than Monaco that there'll be a little bit more overtaking action?
Difficult to say really. I personally myself, I haven't done much Baku, so I'm just hoping for points really. That's all I hope for going into races. Just getting that consistency of points builds up over a season. So just staying on the podium is a result really. It's more than what I could have asked for, and hopefully I can do the exact same.
Well, enjoy today, because you've won the Monaco Grand Prix, the City of Principality, the most difficult Grand Prix of the entire Formula 1 calendar. So that's a big achievement in and of itself, mate. So enjoy it. And that wraps up the Monaco Grand Prix for Division 2. And your boy, I have to say, it's been a very, very interesting debut. And I want to say a big congratulations and well done for a truly tremendous job. You seem like you just got into a nice groove, and then we got through the whole session, and you you did great. Well done.
Thanks very much. No, happy to jump in and help out and get the career underway, and hopefully I'll be back next week if the opportunity opens itself up.
Hopefully the first of many. And that has been it. If you want to see more Monaco Grand Prix action, please tune in tomorrow at 8 PM when Division 3 takes their turn around the streets of Principality of the Monaco Grand Prix. If you want to see more Division 2 action, you're going to have to wait till next Sunday when they take their way down to Azerbaijan, and then we get round to the Baku circuit, where they've got the infamous castle section, where it has claimed a lot of people, like Charles Leclerc back when he started his debut debut season for the Ferrari Formula 1 team. And thank you very much. And this whole Grand Prix has been dedicated to the late legend of Formula 1, Murray Walker. May he rest in peace. And again, our deepest sympathy and condolences to Murray Walker's friends and family through these tragic times. And that is it. Thank you very much, everyone. Please take care, stay safe, and have a good evening.